Hey everybody, Sean Sewell with the Engearment.com podcast. I'm very excited to have my friend Tyler onto the show today. Tyler is the creator of the KIPS, Kinesiology Institute for Performance Specialists. I've had the great pleasure of learning from Tyler for the MACE Movement Fundamentals course, and that was an eye-opener. And he's a great coach, a great instructor, just a great person. So welcome to the show, Tyler. Thanks for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Sean. Thank you, Sean, for having me. I always enjoy talking with you, whether it's through social media, in podcasts, or just whenever I see you. It's always great.
I appreciate it, buddy. It was fun. Like, you know, when you meet somebody in the first few minutes, you know right away they're going to be a good person to work with. And you were definitely one of those people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And also, you turned me on to Facebook tacos. I didn't know that's a thing. So, well, Tyler, let's talk a little bit about you. You have a lot of background, a lot of really great things we're going to talk about. First off, what got you into the health and fitness industry?
Yeah, it's a good one. And it's in terms of what sparked it for me was probably injury. When I was younger, I was active. And unfortunately, I was an adolescent that got injured quite a bit.
Mm.
When I was, let me think, in the 7th or 8th grade, I broke my hip, which is something that
Wow.
generally you don't hear.
Yeah.
I've broken both my ankles throughout my years of being a young athlete. And I've had shoulder bursitis, all this before graduating even high school. So injury is what turned me on to how the body works. Then how does that go into strength training,
Mm-hmm.
recovery, and then performance? And I was very fortunate that when I had my shoulder bursitis, I think that was when I was in the 9th grade, I went to a physical therapy office, and the physical therapist there, he enjoyed answering my questions. I've always been someone that asks questions
Yeah.
because I want to learn how, I want to learn why. And the physical therapist there, he every time I asked a question, he would happily answer them and give great detail. It just wasn't just a nonchalant answer. So
Mm-hmm.
it was something that sparked even more interest. And he was very into strength training as well. And so after I graduated from high school, I was actually one of those people that I didn't really know what I was going to do
Mm-hmm.
right in my senior year. I didn't really apply to schools knowing what I was going to do. Some were business, some were kinesiology. And for the first couple of years, I actually did business, and then I switched back. And during one of my internships that I did when I went back home was with this physical therapy office. And that was kind of my first hands-on first job really in the industry, was being a physical therapy aide. I started just being an intern. I went there, and then they're like, well, we need some help during the summer. People are going to be taking vacation. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah, why
Mm-hmm.
not? And then after a bit of doing physical therapy as an aide, I was like, it's kind of slow for me. And so I started looking into uh, certifications, like how do you be a personal trainer? I'd always worked out with my buddies in a college, almost, and that's what we did in college. We
Mm-hmm.
go to the gym during the summer, go to the gym, go to the beach, all that kind of good stuff. And so when I got my first certification, I don't know if I used it right off the bat, but then eventually I got my first personal training job, and that was kind of what set things off. I was very fortunate to get a position at a facility that was, I'll say, the state of the art facility. It was
Mm-hmm.
an upper scale gym. I was one of, I think, 35 to 40 trainers.
Wow. Big facility.
Very big facility. It's actually where the Clippers, the LA Clippers, used to practice. And
Okay.
so, it's got 2 basketball gyms, 2 pools,
Wow.
huge facility.
Yeah.
And so working there, it's kind of, you're thrown into the deep end of the pool there. You're working with people that this is their full-time job. They're making a good living off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to adapt and learn very quickly how to be a personal trainer. It's not like working at a lower end gym, nothing against that. Each
Mm-hmm.
one provides their own opportunities. But at this one, I really had to work fast and learn how to sell personal training, be a personal trainer. And to this day, I still talk with a lot of the personal trainers that I met there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really great. You got into this because you want to learn more about yourself and how the body works. And look how far you've taken it now. Now you're teaching people about this, how to become trainers, how to be better at coaching. And it's fantastic. What a beautiful organic uh, growth there.
Yeah, and I would even say that that is um, part of me of how I got even to the education part. It's crazy to say this, but the way that I got into education, fitness education, and to be specific, is that I answered a request for an internship, and it was sent to. I went to Cal State University Long Beach, and it was sent to the department head, and she blasted it out to everybody. And I was the only one that responded. And so I became an intern for a company called Nesta. And this was for maybe a year and a half before I graduated college. And it's just crazy to think that I was the only one that answered this internship
Yeah.
request.
Yeah.
I'll say that it was a bit of a drive from Long Beach to where their offices are, but that actually turned into a job after. And that set me on that path of creating fitness education.
That's so awesome. Oh, I love it. What led you to the name of KIPS?
So I actually remember when it was created. I remember who was at this dining room table with me. And really, it started with, okay, what are the terms that we want to be a part of? What is different? Because when we looked at the different names that are out there, a lot of them are they start national
Hmm.
exercise, national sport, national. It's always national.
Yeah.
So what is something else? What's a good term that's being used right now that means the same thing?
Hmm.
And so when I looked at degree offerings, and even it was around the same time that I was actually looking at pursuing my master's degree. And so a very popular term at the time was kinesiology. And that's pretty much the standard term now. You
Yeah.
don't really see exercise science or human movement anymore in terms of degree offerings. And so it's like, that's it. Kinesiology, like that needs to be a part of it somehow. And so then you start going through all the different terms that are in these names, like, so National Strength and Conditioning Association.
Hmm.
So what's a different term for association? And then you start putting it together like, okay, so there's institute.
Yep.
And then finally, okay, what's going to sound good as an acronym? What else can we fit in there? And so basically the pieces just came together. And so
Yeah.
then we came with Kinesiology Institute for Performance Specialists. Boom. It's made.
Boom. Oh, I love it. It's descriptive. It's accurate.
Yeah.
It's good copywriting. It's good. Oh, that's great. So you formed up KIPS. What was
Mhm.
your goal with it? What was the first thing you wanted to create, or what opportunity do you see in the market that you wanted to
Yeah.
nail?
I'll be honest with you, 100% honest, that it took me about a year and a half to actually get there in
Yeah.
terms of making a goal that I was like, okay, that's it. Because when I first started, I just finished working for two education companies that made traditional education.
Hmm.
They made the personal trainer, they make, group exercise, they make the very standard ones that you'll see across the board.
Hmm.
And so that was my first thought. Okay, I'm just going to make my own. That's always been my process in terms of, okay, I believe I can make this myself. I can do this myself. I know the procedures. I know how to do the marketing, the development. Okay, let's make this happen. And so go with KIPS. That's what I set out doing. My first couple courses, they're very standard courses,
Hmm.
ones that you could see across the board. But then got to a point where I was like, okay, what's something different? I want to do something different. And so what I tell people now these days is that we have a spectrum of education in terms of, we got the traditional ones, we have your NSEAs, your NASMs, your ACEs on one end. Then at the far end, you have, I'll say, and it's good that they do this, that
Hmm.
makes them different, is that you have on it. And I want to be right in the middle. I
Yeah.
want to create education that still has CEU approvals, that some will pursue accreditation, and some that can be on both ends of the spectrum. So I want to create something in the middle that's different, that when people are looking for education that's either live or online, we have those types of offerings. So that's really been the goal in terms of where we're going with the education, and also what type of education we want to bring on board. Look at what's out there. Okay,
Hmm.
what is being made popular right now? What is something that people want to learn more about?
Hmm.
Because, I mean, you look at, and nothing against the traditional ones, there has to be entry level education out there. There has to be
Hmm.
these more traditional ones. That's actually where all the money is right now.
Hmm.
A lot of traditional corporate trainers that work in the big gyms, they really don't know about the stuff at the end of the spectrum, but there's so many more of them over here. So, I mean, there's a market for that,
Yeah.
and they do a good job at developing these courses. So with KIPS, we look at both of those ends and try to see what we can make that is still founded in research, still follows a process that is evidence-based, and really is something that can help people and hopefully create a market at the same time.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I did, take your foundations of steel mace training,
Mm-hmm.
and I really enjoyed it. That was my third mace course certification I had taken, and I
Mhm.
still learned a lot there too. And you offer a personal training program, Foundations of Club. I might want to take that one because I have some Indian clubs in the other room, and I want to get
Nice.
better at that. Yeah, they've really helped out with my joints. I
Oh, yeah.
found that. Yeah, you got the kettlebell, wellness coach, group exercise instructor, corrective strategies using the kettlebell, speed and agility. Like, and it's great because there's NSCA accreditations, there's ISSA, there's
Mhm.
NASM.
Yep.
That's fantastic. That's legit. That's great. It's not just a crazy course you take, So good for you, man. I'm sure it's not easy to get accredited approval to do those offerings.
It's I always want to talk about those things, and whenever I work with a new contractor or I'm working with someone to develop a new course, one of the first things I tell them is that was actually my first job that I had within fitness education when I worked at this first company. I used to work for the first company I ever worked for was called Nesta, or it is called Nesta. And that was one of my first tasks. I was in charge of the continuing education. So I would apply for continuing education credits for with other agencies, but then I also be the person that they contacted in order to get other courses approved.
Wow.
So it is a leg up for me because I
Yeah.
know
You
the
know the
people.
process. Yeah.
I know the process. I know what to look for.
Yeah.
And so what might seem daunting to others, and I always tell them,
Mhm.
just take a deep breath. Like, I got it. I know it. Like,
Yeah.
you want this agency? I'll email them right now. We get it done. Boom.
Oh, that's so cool. I respect the heck out of that. That's great because like you said, you were on the other side of that. So that's really encouraging. Very encouraging. Well, so I respect the time and effort you put into creating this professionally, and everything I've interacted with you, even on the podcast, was the most professional podcast setup I've ever done. Like you had everything lined out, great structure, very professional, very quick to respond, and there's a lot of great takeaways for fitness professionals and business professionals. They can learn from you and from KIPS. And is there anything in the future you're looking forward to creating?
In the future, I have about, let me think. So over my, you can't really, I don't think you can see it on the camera, but it's over my right
Oh, I
shoulder
see the
is a
whiteboard.
board.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are actually the courses that are in development up there.
Cool.
There's things that are, there's also the podcast speakers that going to get on and all that kind of stuff. So there are about 4 courses that are in the pipeline right now that are at some stage in development. Some of them are we're just in that creating the outline stage. Some of them were in the testing phase in terms of making a lecture so that the instructor, so I work with instructors that some of them have no experience making
Mhm.
online education and some instructors do. So with one of them, we are actually doing a test lecture right now so that I can better show them here is what the outcome can look like.
Right.
Because I can just give them course access and kind of show them, but they might be, "Oh, well, how do I get to there? Like the ones that I have done or the way that I see it, I don't know how to do that." Well, let me work with you. Let me show
Mhm.
you that process. And so with one of the instructors, we're in that phase. We're going to do a test lecture actually tomorrow where we do some
Cool.
recording and then recording online so that I'm not
Yeah.
actually meeting with them. But there's other ones that essentially I give them any tools that they need and then they provide me with a finished product just because they have that experience. So there's a variety of courses that are in the pipeline. In terms of growth, we're in the initial stages of looking at our offerings for potentially pursuing some accreditation, higher accreditation for our personal trainer program. That's one of our newer programs that actually is an online proctored course. And when somebody might hear that, like, wait, what? Like online proctored? But the
Yeah.
proctoring services these days are amazing. And when I actually spoke with somebody from one of the agencies that helps companies get accredited and also does the proctoring services, this was one of their main people. This is one of their VPs. He was telling me like this might be actually the way of the future in terms of proctoring, just because of the availability.
Mhm.
You can do online proctoring 24/7, and he's like, honestly, it's cost saving for companies. And when you think about getting an accredited certification, typically you have to go to a testing center
Yep.
that are only open from 9 to 5, and you
Yeah.
have to be there at a certain time because really you can't show up at 5. You have to show up at 3 or something like that before
Yeah.
3. And so the ability to do them online, cost saving, you don't have these offices set up. You can
Yeah.
just have these proctors that are doing it online. And so um, when I was looking at online proctoring, it was actually funny. The services that I was talking to, I talked to a variety of companies, and a lot of them were trying to honestly convince me that that is valid. Like
Mhm.
they were worried that I wouldn't think it's a valid procedure, but I told them all, I was like, no, I already spoke with, somebody that's high up in terms of one of the popular companies that people go to for testing services, and you don't have to convince me. I already believe it's valid.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
that's why
vetted.
I'm reaching out to you guys. Yeah, you don't have to go through that step. Let's just go through the protocol and
Yeah.
how you guys offer your services. And so it's very fascinating to me, looking at the services that they offer, and even the steps that these companies do for proctoring online. I mean, they monitor your camera, they monitor your eyesight, they monitor your computer, making
Mhm.
sure that your tabs, you're not pulling anything up. It's very, I mean, they monitor the sound. There's so many different ways that they can ensure that you're not cheating on an exam. That it's
Wow.
really cool to see how far we can advance as an
I'm
industry.
I'm really glad you explained it, 'cause I was reading about that this morning, and I was like, "Wow, how amazing is this?" Because I've sat for NSCA and, all the different alphabet soups after my name, and
Yeah,
you have to sit there in the room, and it's very structured, and it's very confining, but
yeah,
also a lot of room for opportunity. How can those people or person monitor all these people? So yeah, the technology we have in place now definitely allows for more accountability.
yeah. It's cool. And then hopefully it provides a much easier way for personal trainers to enter the industry. I'm one of the people that always say that the the personal training exam is just that first step into the industry. It's your entry level
Yeah.
into the industry. So if we can make that process, I don't want to say a little bit easier, but make the examination process, because that's just the exam. Really,
Yeah.
what you am I'm one of those people that believe that that's what gets you in, but what you do after is what helps build yourself as a personal trainer. What courses you take after,
Hmm.
what experience you get after, those types of things will help build that foundation a little bit more. Because, in my opinion, in reality, people, they just try to cram as much information inside from these entry level examinations, and how much do they really consume after? I don't think it's much, but that's just my opinion.
No, I'm with you on that. And it's very true. I think it's easy for people to what is a saying I learned from somebody I really respect. And it's, you can write the song on paper, but can you play the song? So
Yeah,
the test is like, okay, great, you passed that, but what can you apply from the knowledge that you've sought out in the real world to help and serve your clients?
exactly.
Mhm.
And that last part, that's the key part, in my opinion. The
Yeah.
the clients. What are you doing? What type of information are you consuming after that's going to help your clients? That is the end goal, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. They're not paying you to learn about, you know, potassium and calcium and Z lines and stuff. They want to know how are you going to help them with their squat pattern and feel good and play with their kids.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, good for you, Tyler. I love this stuff. Well, let's talk about you. What do you do for fun? And I will hope we get to the Highland Games stuff. I want to learn more about that.
We will definitely get there, because that's one of the normal things that I do. So really, I'm a pretty simple guy in terms of what I do on a normal basis. I'm pretty routine. I'm a routine guy in
Hmm.
terms of what I do when I wake up, what I do throughout the day, and whatnot. And but like really, things that I like to do is I like to watch movies. I watch
Hmm.
a lot of movies, and it's kind of funny. At the time that we're recording this, it's the coronavirus, and so a lot of people are on lockdown.
Hmm.
And I've seen posts about, if you've seen, I think it was like 180 something movies, like you are obsessed. Or I forgot what the term is that they use, but like 187. I haven't seen way more than that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But my wife and I, we generally go see a new movie at least 1 to 3 times a month. We
Yeah.
have a pass that we pay a monthly fee, and we can go see a movie. We technically we'd see 3 movies a week. I don't know if we've ever seen three in a week,
Yeah.
but we like to go see new movies, or we watch movies, or from Apple TV.
Yes.
We stay pretty up to date with that kind of stuff. Of course, living out in Arizona, we like to meet and have a good time with friends whenever that time does come.
Yes.
Um, what else do we like to do? Oh, of course, I'm a cat guy, so I have my cats. There's technically a cat in my office right now. Thankfully, she's asleep. I had to kick out the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
She's sneaky.
um, but I train um, pretty frequently, and then of course there's my Highland Games training, when I do at least 3 to 4 times a week.
That's impressive. I like following you on social media because you're hucking things very far. I have no idea how you're doing it. It is impressive. So what are the Highland Games? And
Yeah. So the Highland Games heavy athletics are 9 events that it's a very traditional competition. You have to wear a kilt in order to compete. If you don't know what a kilt
wow.
is, many people say it's your skirt. Um, so you have to wear a kilt to compete. There's 9 events, typically a heavy and a light of each one. So you have the Scottish hammer, have stones, which are rocks. I'm going to take a step back. And so like the Scottish hammer, it's very similar to the wire hammer, which some people might see in the Olympics, but it's a PVC pipe and there's a weight at the end. With that one, there's a 16-pound and 22-pound hammer that you throw. With those stones, you have a 16-pound stone, and then you have a 22-pound stone that you throw. Then you have weight events, which is essentially a chain, a handle, and a weight. With that one, you have a 28-pound. And for the weight class that I'm in, I'm obviously not a very big guy. I'm in a lightweight class. We throw a 42-pound weight for distance. The bigger guys, the pros and the big dudes, they throw a 56-pound.
Whoa.
And then after that, we have 3 events that are the weight over bar, essentially just how it sounds. For us, we throw a 42-pound weight up in the air over a bar. And then we have the Sheaf Toss. This is the one of my favorite ones, but it's essentially it's a bag of used to be hay, but
Mhm.
really just twine in there these days. And it's a 16-pound bag that you throw over a bar, and you do that with a pitchfork. So I have some pitchforks in my garage.
This is
Um,
awesomely
and,
brutal. I love this.
and then the last one that a lot of people like, and this is the one that mostly people know, is the caber toss, which is like the telephone pole flip that you
Yeah.
do.
Wow. Thank you for explaining that because I'm watching you huck these hammers and things, and I'm like, what is he doing? I want to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And surprising, there's a lot of competitions where you are in Colorado. There's a big group out there, people that practice. I know a handful off the top of my head, and I've competed in Colorado. And one of my favorite games is actually out there, up in Estes Park.
Oh, pretty,
One
very pretty.
exactly one of the best games I've been to. Just the scenery, being able to throw in that area while you're looking at. There's a lake right there, then the mountains
Mhm.
surrounding, just beautiful,
Yeah.
just amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad you appreciate that area. That's one of my favorite areas to go. Rocky Mountain National Park is right there, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I've taken my avalanche education courses in that national park, and it's just beautiful. I would never imagine people would be in that area hucking telephone poles and hammers. That's great. What brought you into that? Like, what got you stoked on that?
Yeah. So if you're watching the video stream of this, you can see that I'm not Scottish. I'm actually half Filipino. And that's always one of the first questions I
Yeah.
get. Um, and I'm not Scottish, but there was a point in my life where I used to own an outdoor boot camp. So for 4 years, I owned a boot camp. And at that time period, I had a participant that was also a friend. He became a friend that was Scottish. He was half Scottish. And this is the same story I tell every single time. So I got it down. So he was preparing for a competition, and he was like, okay, I'm going to stay after boot camp and I'm going to, practice. He's like, oh, you should stay. And the first probably week or two, I was like, no, I'm just going to go home. And
Mhm.
eventually I stayed after for maybe like 10 minutes and I think he was doing the weight over bar with a kettlebell, just over a branch, a tree branch. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And later on, he got me to meet up with him on a Saturday to go practice. And he had like makeshift implements that he would practice with. And I was like, okay, it's kind of fun. And then he eventually convinced me to participate in my first competition. So I had to borrow a kilt from him. It was too big for me, so we had to like safety pin it to myself. And then in that time, I was in the novice class. So like when you first start off, and this is a good way if you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, like it does sound kind of interesting.
Mhm.
One, there are competitions in every major city and also in like these small towns. So if you think like, oh, you might have to drive far, they are everywhere. Um, but then there's the novice class that if it's your first time, you can do the novice class for 3 times if you want to. You're just getting kind of used to it. You can literally just show up without having touched anything and do it. And
Really?
so I did the novice class for 3 times, and I think maybe the highest, like I was like maybe 4th place. And after that, So I did 3 competitions, and I was just like, okay, I want to start winning. Like, yeah, I'm a pretty competitive person. And
Mhm.
so after that time, I just decided to, switch up my training. I bought a couple of the implements, and I switched the way I trained. I wasn't doing, at the time, I did a lot more cardio. I ran. I did a couple of those endurance run competitions, and I do more HIIT or high intensity power training for myself. And so I switched up the way that I trained. I started to learn the Olympic lifts, weight training. And, since then it's kind of been a fun ride, I'll say.
That's really awesome. And it's approachable. I didn't know that it is that approachable. And like you, I like training outside
Oh
and I
yeah.
like hucking things. And I've got plenty of kettlebells I don't mind hucking. So I might look into this and hopefully listeners will as well.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, if you look any of this up, or, if you reach out to me, like, if we finish this podcast, you're like, I actually do want to do it, I can honestly just message one person in Colorado, and they will gladly, invite you out. And that's the type of community it is. It's really great to see that the
So cool.
community, all the time you see on these different Facebook groups. I'm in XYZ city. Is there anybody close that's throwing? And there's always at least, I'll say minimum of 5 people that respond and are willing to meet up, or willing to, meet up with somebody at their city or whatnot. And it's really great to see as a community, because they all understand that it's a growing sport. It's very small, but it's growing. And yet people are always there willing to help out. And they might have, makeshift implements, or they might have 1 or 2, but no matter what, they're like, okay, yeah, let's meet up, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I know.
That's so encouraging. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I think it's so fascinating that there's so many unique groups like that in the world. Like behind me, you see these snowboards. They're actually split
Hmm.
boards, right? So I help run a Facebook group and start off at maybe 16 people that just wanted to meet other people to go ski and snowboard outside. And now it's like just shy of 8,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, most people probably don't even know that's even out there.
Hmm.
And it's so cool that you have access and you're sharing that access to our listeners to meet up with other people and go train outside. It's so cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and the a part of it too is the experience of the competition. It's motivation. I'm sure that
Hmm.
there's some type of motivational factor with doing the split board stuff, and training for it. It gives me something to train for. I know that
Yeah.
that's one of the things with working with clients. If we're talking about personal training, is okay. What's your motivation? What's your intrinsic, extrinsic motivation?
Hmm.
What's going to help you wake up and get you to make that first step or get in the gym? And so that's what it is for me.
Yeah.
I consistently get in the gym because I want to do well at the competitions. I enjoy being invited to the national championship. I enjoy. I haven't. I was joking with somebody recently that I haven't won in a while.
Hmm.
Like, it sounds great that, okay, I've been to the national championship 3 years in a row, but I haven't won in a long time. But it's because I'm going against good competition these days.
Oh, I bet.
And but like, doesn't stop me. I got to get in the
It's still
gym.
fun, right?
Yeah, it's still fun, and it's something to train for, something that makes you want to get in the gym.
That's great. And to the training part, it's always important as a coach or fitness professional or trainer to find out what it is that your person wants to accomplish, what they want to train
Exactly.
for. And that's what you
Yeah.
want to train for. And for me, it's getting up out of the bed and being capable to handle life and hopefully go up the mountains and meet some new people and go see some scenery.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Exactly.
Those are the motivations. So going through your courses, you have several great offerings. The one that kind of intrigued me at the moment is the Foundations of Club Training. Can you speak a little bit more about that one?
Yeah, and this is actually a good, I'll say, insight into how I've built KIPS as a business, in terms of identifying instructors and then trying to build it in a way that's different than what's out there. Something that I've told people several times before is that I can't market or be like, when we're not, remember before I was talking about the spectrum of education. I
Hmm.
can't be like NASM or ACE or NSCA, just because they have so much money to market. They
Hmm.
can easily just run ads constantly, and that's what one of them does, in
Hmm.
terms of getting the name out there. They're just constantly spending money on marketing, 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 marketing. And so what I do is identify instructors that I feel like would be great to collaborate with, that I feel can provide a service for personal trainers. And with this one, I got in touch with someone by the name of Ian Vaughn. On Instagram, he's Coach Vaughn. Um, he provides content for individuals like fitness enthusiasts that are interested in kettlebell. He is a strong first trainer as well.
Oh, great.
I think he has a variety of those credentials as well. Um, he does steel mace, he does Indian clubs, he does steel clubs, he does stick mobility. I'm trying to think of all the other kinds of things that he does, but he's somebody that he himself invests in education.
Hmm.
He appreciates education. He goes to courses, and he's also interested in giving back. So, he's got ebooks, all that kind of stuff. So, taking this back to a business level, getting in touch with him, taking that time to get to know him. These were things that him and I both did to make sure that we wanted to work together and we wanted to develop a course together. And so if you're listening to the podcast and you start researching him, you'll see that he's already got a big library of YouTube exercises. He's got, like I said, the ebook. He's putting out stuff on social media. And so he has those already, the qualities in terms of making content. And so he was one of those people that I didn't really have to tweak anything in terms of making a course with him. We talked about structure. We talked about the platform and all that kind of stuff and some goals that we wanted to put forth in it. But really, he's one of those people that he provided me with a finished product. And really, it's kind of just been, since then, it's just been easy. It's easy, somewhat easy to work with.
Yeah.
And so with the club foundations one, again, we talked about those key items. We wanted to talk about Indian clubs, steel clubs. If you're talking about Indian clubs, I'm actually a firm believer in Indian clubs.
Mhm.
Ever since I got turned on to them by, this is a way to connect all the different stories I've told today. The first gym I worked at, there was a trainer by the name of Jason Dolby, and he's always been into the unconventional stuff, Indian clubs. What is it called? There's a gym in Wisconsin called, I forgot what it's called, like monkey gym stuff, like
Oh,
the
monkey
ab
bars.
wheel,
Yeah.
the ab wheel with like the feet on it. He
Hmm.
introduced me to one of those. He introduced me to so many different items, and he introduced me to the Indian clubs, and I is connecting the Highland Games into here with just those repetitive patterns of throwing, and being one side dominant, and then with weight training and the type of load that you put on your muscles, your ligaments, your joints. I've always had shoulder issues, and so the
Hmm.
Indian clubs are a great way for me to warm the joint up, warm that shoulder complex up, and it's been something that I've always told people, like, it saved my shoulder. I, knock on wood, have not had to have surgery on it yet, but it's something that I really think could be great for anybody. And when I used to do more personal training, I haven't done training in a while, but that was one of the first things that I always introduced to clients. Like if you're working with golf athletes,
Hmm.
this is something that, um, you know, golf athletes in general, if you tell them this is something that's going to help their shoulders, improve their swing, anything like that, they almost buy in right away. They're like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
where do I buy one? And with the ones that I'm thinking about right now, after I just showed them one session in just a general warm up, the patterns were really not there yet, but
Yeah.
they saw the benefit of working on it and incorporating it into their daily life. And they almost immediately went home and bought some off of Amazon. And so I really highly recommend those tools if you're somebody, I'll say anybody in general.
Yeah.
Like I have a neighbor, a retired neighbor that I think he's 65. He loves to bowl. I like to bowl as well. That's one of the things we connect on. And I tell him, we should really look at these for yourself, and if it can improve your bowling game. And that was something that triggered in his head. Oh, bowling, being better
Yeah.
at bowling. So that's connecting almost every single story I mentioned today.
That was really good. Circumnavigation there. Well, and I, like you mentioned, I picked up 2 sets of them off of, I think, Amazon, and I have done very basic stuff with them, but I've noticed it's definitely helped with mobility in my wrist, in my
Hmm.
elbows, and my shoulders, and allowed me to train at the level I need to train at with heavy kettlebells and all the fun
Yeah.
stuff we do. So, that's a cool course. You have the club training, and yeah, that's a fair price for it too. So that's really cool.
Mhm.
Excellent. We covered a lot of stuff here. And you have a podcast. It's really great. You have some great guests on there. And oh, you're doing such good stuff. So I know the elephant in the room. Is Arizona now under house stay right now?
We actually just had that. It's going
Today?
into today at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that it's been like tiptoed around, and
Yeah.
people have been, I'll say, generally good. I don't know how I feel about This is a very serious talk that I'm sure some people disagree. That's cool.
Hmm.
But I've been a stay at home kind of person,
Hmm.
and I have left very few times. I did go to the park once, and I was very surprised to see how many people are out at the park.
Yeah.
Saying that I go to the park, I used to go to the park very regularly to practice, and to so see even more people out there, you're just like,
Hmm.
okay, but I really haven't made up my mind on that. But where I am in Arizona, 5 p.m. Today, it's going on lockdown and for essential items. But I've said to people that uh, I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of the items that I do throughout the week. So my schedule has been pretty normal.
Yeah.
I don't, sadly, I don't have the ability to go meet up with friends.
Hmm.
We used to do dinner parties and that kind of stuff. We can't go to the movies. But in
Yep.
terms of, working out, I have a home gym that
Hmm.
I've assembled. I can practice in my backyard. So very fortunate to be able to do those normal things. And, this is advice that I think it can go across for anybody, is that in this time, keeping your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
Hmm.
For some people, it might be tough staying indoors. So finding those activities that keep the brain active and trying to keep a positive spin on things. I think that's
Yes.
really one of the hardest things, is the positive spin throughout these times, especially when hearing that this might be this is for another month, thinking, wow, another month. But at the same time, I think industries in general, and this is, again, if you're listening, you're like, wow, he does put a positive spin on everything.
Hmm.
But you look at the different industries out there, whether it's the restaurant industry, whether it's the movie business, um, they're all trying to adapt right now and try to make services available. So we're seeing movies that are coming out straight to on demand, being able to purchase them right away. Or you're seeing movies come out earlier. You're
Hmm.
seeing documentaries being pushed out earlier to provide these services. One, because there's a need for them, the market is demanding them,
Hmm.
but to hopefully cope with the times that we're going through, to keep people entertained and hopefully keep them sane. And
Yeah.
that is one of the things that we talked about on for the KIPS podcast, was items to hopefully help out personal trainers, group exercise instructors that
Hmm.
are having to make that switch online. I was very happy to see how many trainers, group exercise instructors made that quick switch, or that adapted quickly
Hmm.
in order to set themselves up. Because uh, I sadly don't see many, or I don't see much about any positive things about gyms in
Hmm.
terms of keeping them on board or keeping trainers on board. I sadly hear from friends, or from just industry stuff, that they just laid off all their trainers,
Yeah.
um, and so it's adapting quickly, trying to learn new items. I think is such a key piece right now.
Hmm. I'm with you on that, Tyler. And I really enjoyed talking about that yesterday. And, I met you at one of the gyms I train out of, and the owner, Marty, and he's a great person. And we're about 2 weeks ahead of you on the lockdown stuff. And of course, it was very heartbreaking to not be able to go into the gym and see the
Yeah.
people we care about face to face. But for the greater good, we closed down that gym. I closed down the gym inside my law firm. And that night, I'm like, all right, we're going to invest in a better Zoom account. We're
There you
going to
go.
get some
Yeah.
lighting, and we're going to help these people, because everybody's in this together, and we can
Yeah.
serve them, and they have needs. And even if they don't have any equipment in the home, they have their body weight. We can do a
Yep.
little body weight. And then also, as a business owner and as a fitness professional, there's a lot of resources out there. People like your organization has online courses you can take. I've been
Mhm.
talking to Pat Rigsby and Pat Flynn and other professionals as well about making more content more accessible,
Yeah.
sometimes even deferring payment, just to help people keep motivated, get the faculties working,
Yes.
body working, and just stay motivated, because it could be very easy. My nightmare situation was, I don't think it would ever happen to me, but I would just start watching Netflix nonstop and just but luckily I get bored very easy. So that lasted like 2 hours.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of resources out there, and your KIPS is a great resource. So if the person is looking to invest in their education, this is a pretty ideal time to do it.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
well, yeah, it's a pleasure. You're doing good stuff there.
With the lockdown, and also with this time, in terms of with fitness professionals, I also see it as a way to potentially add another element to their
Yes.
business.
Mm-hmm.
If you've, thought about doing an ebook before,
Mm-hmm.
or you wanted to, potentially attract clients from the other side of the country, wherever that is, this could be that opportunity to take that time. It might be hard to invest in some of these resources. And we talked about that yesterday
Mm-hmm.
on the KIPS podcast, the gadgets and those items that could be really useful for creating high quality content
Mm-hmm.
that's online. But it's a time to really look at those items, because once things do go back to normal, you could
Mm-hmm.
have an additional revenue stream to help you get things going back quicker. And you might be
Absolutely.
able to make higher quality content to attract more clients.
It's so true. And this is it's a catch-22. I think it's very important to invest in proper equipment, education, because the return on those investments are evergreen. They're always going to give back. Might not be that same day, but it will be later on.
Yeah.
And a person who's putting out content that they put a lot of effort into, for good audio, good background, good content, clear communication,
Yeah.
it goes a lot longer. Like, I put up a video yesterday, and then we did our podcast, and after the podcast, it was viewed 900 times. It's
Wow.
like, whoa, okay, because it was tangible. It's only 3 exercises, and people shared it because it required no equipment, and it had a
Yep.
dog in it. I mean,
Yep.
all the criteria is right there. And again, it's not because I'm trying to boast or brag about me. I'm just trying to serve people who can't be in front of us, right? And
Yep.
so this is a great opportunity for anybody who has this extra time at home to, like you said, write an ebook. I've written a few ebooks. They're not that
Hmm.
hard. Just have some coffee and sit down and get those thoughts out,
Yep.
and then go back and edit. You can do it through Kindle Direct Publishing. I've done that a few times. You can create online courses. You can create online libraries for YouTube. YouTube's free. People, I
Yep.
think I've talked to people like, oh, I can't afford to do YouTube. I'm like, it's free.
Yeah. It's
Just
free.
upload it. you know you can make it unlisted, and you can send it to your clients and, like, hey, here's today's little workout, or here's some exercises to do with your wife and your kids.
Yep.
There's so many opportunities out there, and I think the ones who adapt quickly and positively and provide value and service are going to thrive. And then again, like you said, when everything does lighten up, a month or two, whatever, you'll have that additional revenue stream, additional service, something you can provide people when you're not in their presence. So you can
Yeah.
take a vacation, you can be more present for your family, or whatever it is, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of
Exactly
tools
right.
here, a lot of opportunity.
Exactly. And that's part of the cycle of this industry.
Hmm.
There's ups and downs in it. Right now, this is a down,
Hmm.
but you got to get ready for the up, and
Yeah.
that ability to recover and hit the ground running once
Mhm.
things do turn back. I think that is something that I hope a lot of trainers, a lot of individuals in general.
Mhm.
I just of course wish the best for everybody in general. And so I've been joking to myself about, oh, is everybody going to come out of this, with their beach bodies? I know you see like a lot of the memes about like everyone's just going to, just be packing on right
Yeah.
now, but because they can't go to the gym. But I'm thinking like, oh, everybody's going to, have their spring cleaning done. Everybody's going to have their beach bodies already ready because they
Yep.
got this extra time. But that's just the positive spin I put on it.
Oh, I love it. It's true. Like, my wife and I, we even before the 2 weeks ago lockdown for here in Colorado, we kind of took a few steps back,
Yeah.
quite a few steps back, and we lined up projects. We've been doing projects. We have organized our home so many times in new ways, and there's always things to do, always.
Yeah.
And then we have a little porch out in front, so we go on the porch and enjoy the sunshine and wave to neighbors from a distance. And there's a lot of fun to still have out there. And also, what I found really helpful is like FaceTime chats with friends and family that you probably haven't reached out to in a long time.
Hmm.
Sharing sometimes. There's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of, and we'll all get through this.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
well, how can people find you? Kipsonline.org. You've got Instagram as well, and all of the things.
Yep. So kipsonline.org is the website. Probably by the time this comes out, it will be April, and
Mhm.
saying that tomorrow is the start of April.
Yep.
We will be having actually a sale for um, definitely for all of April, a bigger one than normal to hopefully help out with trainers that are in that period that they need to recertify. They can't go to courses. So
Mhm.
we will be having a sale during that time, a rather large one. I got to hammer out those final details on that today. So that will start on April 1st. On Instagram, we got Kips_online. That's the main account for myself. It's Tyler Tyler_Kips online. We have Twitter as well for Kips Online, Facebook. where all these things will be made available out there.
Wonderful. And you have a podcast too. A
The
very good
KIPS
one.
podcast. Yes. You can find that from our main website. It's on, you just scroll down, or you can find it off the blog. And it's the KIPS Personal Training Application Podcast. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
Wonderful. And I'll have links to all those in the show notes as well. Well, Tyler, thank you for your time. Thank you for all the services you provide for us professionals out there. And looking forward to chatting with you again very soon.
Thank you, Sean.
Take care.